Buckley isn't the critic in the library. He's the guy that screams bullshit because you see enough bullshit to be annoyed. Before I start, let me just be honest. I like a dose of Buckley and Todd in the Shadows. I've been watching them for basically years at this point, maybe even a decade. So when I say this stuff, this comes from somebody who respects what they've built, and I'm not trying to come off as a hater. I've noticed there's been a shift. Non-talent, non-effort, but specifically the angles that they come from. Really enough, wasn't even their musical takes that got me to thinking, or not just their musical takes. In one of Buckley's recent videos, he says this:
a certain shadowy figure is going to put this on his best of list.
Now I know it reads as snark on the surface, but he's done this kind of thing before.
I don't read other people's opinions on music. Mostly because I don't care, but also because I don't want it to influence my own when I'm making these videos. I don't want to watch Todd in the Shadows and then accidentally rip him off.
You hear all of that? For the most part, he's not making fun of him. At best, it's a little snarky, but it's not disrespectful. He's done this a couple times before, but it's usually aimed at his audience. Usually whenever he does this, it seems kind of indirect, or if it is, it's more direct at his fans and his audience. Maybe occasionally a little reference to the YouTube world going on around him. But we did it recently. It felt personal, or more directed at Todd.
This on his best of list and talk about how brave it is or whatever.
Earlier videos brought up I know what Todd's gonna say. That's not the lane I'm in, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. But that last statement felt kind of personal. Makes you think, what are the big differences between these two? Here's the thing, they come from two different lineages of culture. Todd comes from the indie critic ecosystem. You know, Pitchfork or anything Pitchfork adjacent, the pop reviewing, pop history, music history kind of thing. These are the kind of people where you ask about the 1970s music scene and they don't have to think about it that hard. Buckley doesn't make fun of them, at least any more than anyone else does make fun of hipsters, but that's not him at all. He has to consider himself, as he said, a music critic. He's just some guy that fell into it. Or not falling into it, but more like a guy who thought it was fun, took his skills from radio broadcast, and tried to get that old man kind of a feel to it. He actually isn't old. He was pretending to be an old man when he started off. But he's more older millennial, Gen X kind of guy, even if he leans more millennial. You see, Todd is more anything indie rock. Just the entire indie ecosystem. You knew who Portugal the Man was before they got popular. And Buckley, Pantera, Rage Against the Machine, Machine Head, Gojira kind of a guy. Even if he makes fun of MTV, it still affects how he sees media. Buckley isn't the critic in the library. He's the guy that screams bullshit because you see enough bullshit to be annoyed. The old man yelling at culture has some cracks in his armor, aka the person making fun of the celebutante and the aesthetic that comes with it. And honestly, just celebrity in general. The entire punching up. Pretty much the old man saying, this isn't real, this doesn't count, you find better shit than this. And for a long time, that worked. It worked really well. And that worked when it was just a monoculture, when culture was centralized. See, there's popular culture, alternative culture, and niche culture. Now, culture is generalized. Yeah, there's still popular culture, but niche is everywhere. Music culture so sonically fractured and fragmented that genre is bleeding everywhere. Metal has electronics, pop has breakdowns, R&B vocals show up in places you wouldn't expect for them to be. That's the main reason why some of his takes aren't really the best. Like the Sleep Token video. He made fun of them for not using enough guitars and things of that nature. Also, again, Pantera, remember? Heavy metal music draws from R&B a little bit more now. That's not what Pantera would have done. He didn't grow up with bands like Issues. He wasn't watching Chase Atlantic. He was one of the last bands to play Warped Tour. His big stage was dealing with celebutantes and the Barbies and Kens relying on the pop machine. Good for creating content, not really great for being a music reviewer, which from his own admission, he's not. He's just somebody who did radio broadcast, who has some insightful thoughts on music. Why am I making this comparison? Because I've noticed something. When he looks at music and culture, a lot of the time sounds reductive. Not horrifically reductive, but enough to explain why people who do it a little bit more seriously, like Todd, have full audiences line up to make comparison. Let me be honest, neither of them are stupid. Buckley is extremely intentional with everything he does. This doesn't come from somebody who is not well trained. His broadcast training shows really well. He always writes his own scripts, something that Todd has admitted he doesn't always do. He admitted that his brother actually was a ghostwriter for certain videos, especially in the beginning, which isn't bad, but explains why I'll take these giant fucking breaks. But Buckley, he uploads every Saturday. And that's the stuff you see on YouTube. His Patreon, constantly advertising it, and there's tons of stuff in there. If I had to say who uploads faster, it's a dose of Buckley. Todd, on the other hand, is much slower. Not in a careless way, but he actually researches, like deep researches, like spent a shit ton of money on this stuff, basically. Talking translators, vinyl, literally, he's not like Buckley, where he has training. So he has to make up with it in actual research, deep research. That's not to make fun of Buckley either. Buckley does a variety of things, but his schedule requires him to post every Saturday. Only like a 1 week break per year, which again, makes him more consistent. But Todd is allowed to have restraint. Buckley isn't trying to be like everybody else, intentionally, which gives him certainty, which is good. Neither is Todd. Todd has peers that he works with. Channel Awesome back in the day, and the Nebula crew. This is why, even when he takes breaks, he has a lot of momentum. Their downfalls are simple though. With Buckley, his anger gives clarity, but limits growth. With Todd, he has curiosity, and it gives him flexibility. But the momentum we're talking about, it limits it a little bit. The fact that when Us came out, he didn't do a one-hit wonderland on I Got 5 on it, that was a big loss. Here's what I want to talk about what Buckley is doing wrong. Yeah, this isn't just a comparison list. There is a flaw that I see in Buckley's pattern. So let me be straight up. Like I said, the monoculture doesn't exist anymore. We're not living underneath it. And his style mainly required him to basically make fun of monoculture from the burgeoning internet culture. Now we got TikTok, we got shit from Instagram, and now his way of critiquing culture has blind spots, weak spots, in the armor. And it can still work. I work with Todd in the Shadows, Finn McKenty, Fantano. Works for Buckley a lot of the time. Mainly the other they do.
Retrain their ears for multimedia market.
The big thing I'm talking about retraining your ear is Buckley. Yeah, forgive me, I'm in my car. Buckley really does need to do that. And I don't mean by going to shows. Pretty sure he does that to his own extent. But at the very least, diving deeper than just TikTok. Or TikTok videos that he hates. Yeah, what? In a car version of me said. Because here are the big things inside of music right now. 1, genre mixing. 2, hyperpop at the beginning of the 2020s. And for a good while, religious music coming from influencers. Those are the trends. And they keep changing every couple of weeks to months. You don't gotta know it all. You have to understand where it's come from and why people like it. The first thing I noticed that made me think about this, because this has been in my head for a while, is his take on Jack Harlow. So he didn't just not like him, didn't just not like what's popping. You kind of diagnosed him as the quirky white rapper. And I get that stereotype makes sense for a reason, but Jack Harlow, around the time he did the Critique, the big song What's Popping, the reason why people like that was because of a few things. 1, the Shigo line. People like Shigo, I don't know what to tell you. It's not a quirky thing to like goth baddies, but you know what, that'd be passable. Let me just be straight up honest. Jack Harlow didn't really have much of a problem with him, and neither did I have with Buckley's take on him. Main thing was this. The point you made about Jack Harlow came off as old-fashioned just because it would have worked in the early 2000s when Eminem was the only white rapper. Now, at least back then, when the monoculture was dying, it wasn't that good of a take. Not in a red flag way, just in a sign that there's some incongruities with what he's saying. You know, with the Sleep Token take and the take on Doechii. His making fun of the debutantes is starting to get flawed. Remember, it's not a misread, it's just a weakening muscle. That's why he'll always have a following. It's his personality. But that pretending everything's cringy and fake kind of gets annoying after a while. And to quote a great YouTuber,
Remember that too much hate towards something can become just as annoying and intolerable as the thing it's making fun of.
those are my thoughts on Buckley. Also, a little thing, my tradition is watching him on Sunday, not Saturday. So if he sees this, see you Saturday.